The yacht rocked gently under the glow of Miami's skyline, lights flickering across the waves like nothing could disturb the illusion of perfection. 33 years old, married to a successful man, celebrating what should have been our anniversary in front of people who envied our life. But then I saw him. Adrian's hand lingered too long on Serena Vega's lower back as he guided her toward the staircase leading to the cabins. I froze, pretending to laugh at some shallow joke from one of his colleagues, my eyes locked on the two of them as they disappeared down below. Serena, in her silver gown that clung like it was painted onto her body, threw a glance over her shoulder. A glance that wasn't innocent. A glance that told me everything I needed to know. I excused myself before my voice cracked. My heels clicked against the polished deck as I followed, weaving past servers balancing trays of oysters and champagne flutes. My body moved on autopilot, but my mind was racing. Don't do this here. Don't cause a scene. Smile, Rachel. Smile. But the knot in my stomach told me I already knew what I was going to find. The hallway downstairs smelled of cologne and sea salt. I heard hushed laughter. A door closed, followed by the unmistakable sound of a lock clicking. My hands shook. I pressed my palm flat against the wall, forcing myself to breathe. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe they were just talking. But then I heard her voice. Low, sultry, and sharp enough to cut me in half. "You're insane doing this tonight. With your wife up there." Adrian's reply was muffled, but I caught enough. "She's too busy playing hostess. Nobody cares." That was it. I pushed the door open. The sight seared itself into me. Adrian's jacket already off, his shirt half unbuttoned, Serena's lipstick smeared as his hands cupped her face like she belonged to him. The look of shock on their faces when I entered would have been satisfying if the bile rising in my throat didn't choke me. "You bastard," I spat, my voice trembling. "On our anniversary? At our own party?" Adrian stepped back like a child caught stealing, but Serena didn't flinch. She smirked, straightened her dress strap, and muttered, "Guess the party came to us." That smirk broke something in me. I grabbed the nearest thing, his glass of whiskey, and hurled it at the wall, shards raining onto the carpet. Gasps echoed from behind me, and that's when I realized I wasn't the only one who followed. At least half a dozen guests had trickled into the hallway, drawn by the noise, their eyes wide, phones already raised, recording. "Rachel, stop. You're overreacting," Adrian hissed, trying to button his shirt, trying to salvage dignity where none remained. Overreacting? I stepped closer, close enough that he could see the tears burning in my eyes. "I gave up everything for you. My career, my inheritance, my time. And you repay me with this? With her?" Serena crossed her arms, unfazed. "Don't be dramatic. These things happen." That was the slap. Not to Adrian, not yet. To her. My palm connected with her cheek so hard the crack silenced the room. She staggered, mascara streaking. "You don't get to tell me what happens in my marriage," I snapped. Adrian lunged forward, grabbing my wrist. "Enough, Rachel. You're embarrassing yourself." I yanked free. "No, Adrian. I'm embarrassing you." The crowd murmured, whispers spreading like wildfire. Someone laughed nervously. Someone else muttered, "Oh my God, did you see that?" Phones tilted higher, capturing every detail. Adrian's face flushed red, fury and fear mixing together. "We'll talk about this later. Go upstairs. Compose yourself." I looked around at the guests, the investors he wanted to impress, the colleagues who thought we were the golden couple. Every single pair of eyes was on us. I felt humiliated, gutted, betrayed. But in that moment, I realized I wasn't powerless. Not anymore. I slipped my wedding ring off my finger. Slowly, deliberately, and without breaking eye contact, I dropped it into his unfinished glass of champagne sitting on the dresser. It clinked against the crystal, sinking to the bottom. "Consider that my resignation letter," I said, my voice steady now, cold and sharp as glass. Gasps rippled through the room. Serena stared at the ring in the glass, her smirk gone. Adrian reached for me, but I stepped back. No, you don't get to touch me again. And with that, I walked out. Past the gawking guests, past the flashing phones, past the life I thought I had. My legs felt like lead, but every step was powered by rage, betrayal, and a promise I made silently as I ascended back to the deck. This isn't the end. They think tonight was shocking? Tonight was only the beginning. I will burn down everything he built with my money, my trust, my love. I will take everything he values, his reputation, his wealth, his family, his pride, and leave him with nothing. By the time I reached the top deck, the cool night air hit me, drying the tears on my cheeks. I kept my head high as eyes followed me, whispers multiplying like wildfire. Some pitied me, some admired me, but none would forget what they had just witnessed. I didn't care anymore. I was done being the supportive wife. I was done being the quiet one. Adrian thought betrayal was his secret weapon. He had no idea the storm he just unleashed. Because from this night forward, my life was no longer about loving him. It was about destroying him. People looked at us and saw the picture-perfect couple. That was always the illusion. Adrian, the ambitious real estate developer with the $1,000,000 smile. Me, the supportive wife who seemed to float through parties in designer dresses as if life had been handed to me on a silver platter. But the truth? I built that platter. When my mom passed away 5 years into our marriage, she left me her house in Coral Gables and a modest inheritance. I could have kept it, rented it, or sold it, and used the money for my own career. Instead, I let Adrian convince me to use it as collateral to help him buy into his first real development project. He swore it was temporary, that once he found his footing, we'd be financially secure forever. I believed him because back then, I wanted to. Back then, I thought marriage meant sacrifice. I had a good job in marketing before all of this. I wasn't making millions, but I was proud of my career. I loved the independence, the late nights brainstorming campaigns, even the office politics. Adrian asked me to step back once Sophia was born. "We can't both chase careers," he said. "One of us has to hold down the fort." And of course, that one of us had to be me. I told myself it was fine. I adored Sophia, and being there for her first steps, her first words, her first day of school, I wouldn't trade that for anything. But somewhere in the middle of birthday parties and PTA meetings, I realized I'd traded my dreams for his. He got to play visionary. I got to play background character. The signs were always there, little cracks I chose to ignore. Business trips that stretched longer than they should. Serena Vega's name slipping into conversations a little too often. The way his phone was glued to his hand but face down on the table when I walked into the room. I pushed down the unease, told myself I was paranoid, told myself every marriage had rough patches. Adrian had a way of convincing me I was overreacting. If I questioned him about late nights, he'd sigh, frustrated, and remind me how hard he was working for us. If I asked about Serena, he'd laugh it off, say I was insecure. And I hated how easily I let those explanations calm me. It was easier to believe him than to believe my gut. But seeing him on that yacht, his lips on hers, confirmed what I had been denying for years. My instincts had been right all along. The night after the party, I sat on the edge of Sophia's bed, watching her sleep. 9 years old, her dark curls spread out on the pillow, her small hand clutching her stuffed dolphin. She stirred, opened her eyes, and whispered, "Mom, why were you crying at the party?" My chest tightened. I brushed her hair back and forced a smile. "Just something between me and Daddy. Go back to sleep." But Sophia wasn't fooled. She looked at me with eyes too wise for her age and said, "I heard Uncle Marco talking. He said Daddy was with that lady from his work. Is that true?" I froze. My brother had seen it too. The truth was already spreading. I couldn't lie to her. I just kissed her forehead and whispered, "Go to sleep, baby. I'll take care of it." Her trust in me was the final nail in Adrian's coffin. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for her future, her stability, her chance to grow up without thinking betrayal was normal. That's when I knew there was no going back. Adrian didn't just cheat on me. He gambled with my sacrifices, spat on my loyalty, and risked the one thing I could never forgive, our daughter's sense of safety. He thought he was untouchable, that money and charm could erase the damage. But he underestimated me. For years, I had been the woman behind the curtain, the silent partner. But silence can turn into fire when it's ignored long enough. And now that fire had found its fuel, the stakes weren't just my pride or my heart. They were financial, emotional, generational. My mother's legacy, my daughter's future, my own identity. If I didn't fight back, Adrian would walk away with everything I had poured into him, and Sophia would grow up watching her father treat women like they were disposable. No, not on my watch. I was done being quiet. I was done pretending. Adrian lit the match, but I was about to set the whole empire ablaze. The morning after the yacht party, I woke up in the guest room with a pounding headache and the bitter taste of betrayal still burning my mouth. The bed felt too big, too empty, and too cold, but I wasn't crying anymore. I was thinking. For the first time in years, I wasn't just reacting to Adrian. I was planning. I brewed a pot of coffee, sat at the kitchen island with my laptop, and opened up every account we shared. My hands shook as I typed in passwords, but when the numbers loaded across the screen, I felt steady again. Savings, checking, brokerage, credit lines, all with my name attached because of my inheritance. He had begged me years ago to co-sign everything, said it would make life easier. Now, it was going to make my revenge easier. I clicked through each one, transferring balances into accounts only I controlled. I called the bank and froze the joint credit card, feigning a stolen card story. The representative apologized for the inconvenience, and I almost laughed. Inconvenience. Adrian's face was about to go pale at the valet stand when his card got declined in front of his friends. Next came the lawyer. I dialed the number of the woman my friend Sophia, not my daughter, but my best friend since college, had recommended. Her name was Camila Torres, sharp, no nonsense, with a reputation for eating cheating husbands alive in divorce court. When I told her my situation, she didn't waste time with sympathy. She went straight to logistics, gather proof, protect your assets, get your child's needs documented. She gave me a list like a battle plan, and I promised her I'd follow it to the letter. After that call, I packed essentials. Not dramatically, not like some movie scene with me throwing clothes into a suitcase while sobbing. No, I was methodical. I folded Sophia's school uniforms, her pajamas, her favorite books. I packed my own clothes, documents, jewelry. I left Adrian's things untouched. Let him come home to a house stripped of everything that mattered. While I packed, my phone buzzed with messages. Adrian. Rachel, where are you? We need to talk. Don't make this bigger than it is. Every line made my blood boil hotter. Bigger than it is? He destroyed our marriage on a yacht full of witnesses, and he was worried about appearances. By late afternoon, I drove to my brother Marco's condo in downtown Miami. He opened the door, jaw tight, and pulled me into a hug without saying a word. When I saw the way his eyes glistened, I knew he'd been waiting for me to finally see Adrian for who he was. Stay as long as you need, Marco said, clearing space in the spare room. Sophia skipped past us with her backpack, relieved to be away from the tension at home. Watching her curl up on the sofa with her iPad, like nothing had happened, cut me deeper than anything Adrian ever did. Children adapt too quickly. I didn't want her to adapt to betrayal. That night I sat at Marco's dining table with folders spread out like evidence in a courtroom drama. Birth certificates, property deeds, bank statements. I highlighted, flagged, documented. Camilla had told me, revenge isn't loud at the start. It's paperwork. It's preparation. It's patience. I understood what she meant now. By midnight, I felt something shift inside me. No more confusion. No more pleading. Just clarity. The next morning, Adrian finally called instead of texting. His voice was tight, forced calm. Rachel, where are you? We need to fix this before it gets out of hand. Out of hand? I repeated, steady. It's already out of hand. You humiliated me in front of everyone we know. You think this can be fixed with a conversation? He sighed. You're being unreasonable. We can work through this. Serena means nothing. I let the silence stretch, then cut him clean. Good. Because she's all you're going to have left when I'm done. I hung up before he could respond. The sound of that click was better than any apology he could have given me. It was the sound of control shifting. From him to me. He thought I would scream, beg, collapse. But instead, I was already moving, already setting fires he wouldn't see until it was too late. And this was only the beginning. The first cracks appeared faster than I expected. 2 days after the yacht party, Adrian tried to take a client to dinner at one of those pretentious rooftop restaurants in Brickell. I know because the server was an old friend of Marco's, and word traveled quickly. The bill came, Adrian slid his platinum card across the table, and it got declined. He laughed it off, handed over another, and that one got declined too. By the third attempt, the client excused himself to make a call, leaving Adrian sitting red-faced while the server politely asked if he wanted to try cash. He didn't have any. He left humiliated, and Miami's business scene eats humiliation like dessert. That night, my phone lit up with his fury. What the hell did you do? Why are our accounts frozen? Do you have any idea what this looks like? I didn't respond. Let him stew. Silence was louder than anything I could have said. Meanwhile, Serena's name started popping up in conversations I wasn't even part of. A friend of mine texted, "Is it true Adrian was with his boss on the yacht?" Another messaged, "Girl, I heard Serena walked out of a meeting today because someone called her a homewrecker under their breath." I pictured her sharp heels clicking across polished office floors, her flawless smile cracking as whispers followed her like perfume. For a woman who thrived on image, this was poison. And Adrian was the one who handed her the glass. At Marco's place, I tried to keep things normal for Sophia. I drove her to school, packed her lunches, helped with homework at the dining table. But even she noticed the tension. One afternoon she asked, "Is Daddy mad at you?" I kept my voice calm. "Daddy made some mistakes, but I'm making sure we're okay." She looked at me, long and serious, before nodding. "Good. Because I don't like when you cry." Her words burned deeper than any insult Adrian could throw at me. That's when I knew this wasn't just revenge anymore. It was war for her peace of mind. By the end of the week, Adrian finally found where I was staying. He showed up at Marco's condo unannounced, pounding on the door like he owned the building. Marco answered first, blocking the doorway with his broad shoulders. "You're not welcome here," Marco said flatly. Adrian sneered. "Move, Marco. This is between me and my wife." I stepped into view, arms crossed. "Ex-wife in progress." His eyes flicked to me, wild with frustration. "Rachel, we need to talk. You can't just run off with my kid and empty our accounts. Do you know how insane you look right now?" I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Insane? Adrian, you paraded your affair in front of a yacht full of people, and you're worried about how I look." His jaw tightened. It wasn't what it looked like. The audacity almost made me choke. "Really? Because it looked exactly like your tongue down your boss's throat." Behind him, a couple walking their dog slowed down, recognizing him. I saw the flicker of embarrassment in his eyes when he realized his meltdown wasn't private. "Rachel, please." He lowered his voice, trying to sound calm. "You're blowing this out of proportion. Serena doesn't mean anything." I stepped closer, close enough he could see the fire in my eyes. "Then she can keep you company while your cards decline, your friends disappear, and your reputation burns. Because from where I'm standing, she's all you've got left." His nostrils flared, but Marco slammed the door before he could respond. Inside, I leaned against the wall, heart racing. I expected to feel shaky, but instead, I felt steady, strong. For the first time in years, Adrian wasn't the one in control. Later that night, Marco clinked his beer against my glass of water. I've waited a long time to see you like this. Not crying, not doubting yourself, just done with him. I'm not just done, I said. I'm dismantling him, and I meant it. Over the next week, the ripple effects spread further. Adrian's colleagues began avoiding him, afraid of the scandal staining their names. A cousin of his called me saying, "People are talking, Rach. They saw the video from the yacht. It's everywhere." Video. That stopped me cold. I hadn't realized someone actually posted it, but when I checked online, there it was. A blurry clip of me storming into the cabin, Serena's slap, the ring dropping into champagne. It already had thousands of views on TikTok under the caption, "When the wife catches you at your own anniversary party." Comments ranged from cheering me on to roasting Adrian and Serena. Humiliation travels fast in the digital age, and Adrian was drowning in it. For years, he told me I was overreacting, too sensitive, too emotional. But now, for the first time, the world was reacting with me. His charm couldn't spin this. His money couldn't bury it. And as I tucked Sophia into bed that night, I whispered to myself, this was only the beginning. If the yacht was the first explosion, this was the aftershock that left no doubt. A week later, Adrian called, insisting we talk like adults. His words, not mine. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him for lunch. Not because I wanted closure, but because I wanted witnesses. I picked a restaurant on Lincoln Road where half of Surfside seemed to congregate on weekends. I arrived 10 minutes late on purpose, heels clicking against the tiled floor, every eye following me as the hostess led me to the table. Adrian was already seated, nervously scrolling his phone, a half-empty glass of wine in front of him. He looked thinner, worn down, and for a second I saw the man I once loved. But then I remembered the image of him with Serena's lipstick smeared on his face, and the sympathy evaporated. He stood as I approached, trying for charm. "Rachel, you look great." "Save it," I said, sliding into my chair. "Say what you need to say." He leaned in, lowering his voice. "Look, I messed up. But we can fix this. We don't need to drag our lives through the mud, especially not for Sophia's sake." The mention of our daughter made my blood boil. "Don't you dare use her to clean up your mess!" People were already watching us. A woman at the next table pretended to stir her iced tea while clearly eavesdropping. "Good. Let them listen." Adrian tried again. "I've ended things with Serena. It was nothing, really. Just a distraction. You know how stressful my work is." I almost laughed. "A distraction? That's what you call betraying me in front of investors, friends, and our child's godfather?" His face tightened. "You're blowing this out of proportion. If you keep making a scene, people will stop respecting you." That was it. I pulled my phone from my bag, opened the folder Camilla helped me compile, and laid it flat on the table. Bank records, screenshots, hotel receipts, photos. I slid them across to him, one by one, like cards in a poker game. His face drained with each one. "You think I look bad?" I said, voice carrying just enough to reach nearby tables. "No, Adrian. You're the one who looks bad. You're the husband who drained his wife's inheritance, the father who risked his daughter's stability, the man who thought screwing his boss made him powerful." The air around us shifted. People weren't just watching anymore. They were hanging on every word. A man 2 tables over pulled out his phone. Adrian's voice broke. "Rachel, keep your voice down." "No," I said, standing up. "I stayed quiet for years while you built your empire on my sacrifices. But now, everyone deserves to know exactly who you are." And then I delivered the line I'd been saving, sharp as a knife. "You don't have a wife anymore, Adrian. You have an audience." The restaurant erupted. Gasps, whispers. Someone even clapped. Adrian sat frozen, pale, hands shaking as he tried to gather the papers. But it was too late. Phones were up, recording every second. I picked up my bag, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "Enjoy the show." Then I walked out. By the time I reached the street, my phone buzzed non-stop. Clips of the confrontation were already online. Hashtags spread faster than wildfire. "Wife wins. Hash boss mistress. Hash yacht guy. The video of me sliding those documents across the table hit Twitter before I even got home. Adrian had wanted to fix things quietly. Instead, he got a public trial, and the verdict was humiliation. And this was only the second act. Adrian always believed he could spin anything. That was his gift, turning lies into charm, betrayal into misunderstanding. But charm doesn't stand a chance against the internet. 2 days after the restaurant incident, his face was everywhere. Clips of me sliding those documents across the table had gone viral. Strangers stitched the video with commentary, laughing at his stunned expression. One TikTok with 3 million views replayed me saying, "You don't have a wife anymore, Adrian. You have an audience." The caption read, "Queens don't cry, they collect receipts." Adrian tried to fight back. He went live on Instagram, sitting in his pristine home office, pretending like nothing was falling apart. His tone was rehearsed, soft, almost pleading. "Don't believe everything you see online," he said, eyes locked on the camera. "My wife and I are working through personal issues. We ask for privacy during this difficult time." But the comments scrolling up the screen told a different story. "Bro, she caught you on your own yacht." "Privacy? You made it public." "Where's Serena? Did she ghost you too?" Within minutes, clips of his live were circulating with mocking voiceovers. Someone even auto-tuned his speech into a parody song. He thought he was controlling the narrative, but all he did was feed the fire. And then came the leaks. Camilla had warned me, "If he tries to play the sympathy card, you drop the hammer." So I did. Screenshots of text messages between Adrian and Serena. Emails where he used company funds to book hotel rooms. One receipt showing a Valentine's dinner charged to the corporate account. None of it came directly from me. Let's just say friends of friends helped make sure those files landed in the right inboxes. By the next morning, the Miami Herald ran a piece. Real estate developer Adrian Zadora faces allegations of misconduct and affair with supervisor. CNBC picked it up by evening. Investors started pulling back. Deals went cold. His golden boy reputation was tarnished, and no amount of charm could polish it again. The hashtags turned brutal. Adulterous Adrian, Cars boss mistress, Ashed yacht scandal. Someone even started selling t-shirts online with, "You have an audience" printed across the front. Serena didn't escape the storm. An anonymous account leaked photos of her entering hotels with Adrian. Her firm's HR was forced to announce an internal investigation. She locked her socials, but by then, screenshots of her past posts, bragging about being a self-made woman, were plastered everywhere with clown emojis. Adrian called me late one night, his voice strained. "Rachel, you've ruined me. Are you happy now?" I stayed calm. "Not yet," he begged. "Please stop feeding them. I can't walk into my office without whispers. Investors are bailing. I'm losing everything. That's not my doing," I told him. "That's yours. Actions have consequences. You just finally ran out of ways to hide them." And I hung up. The next morning, I dropped Sophia at school, and one of the moms approached me in the parking lot. "I just want to say, you're an inspiration," she whispered. "Most women would have stayed quiet, but you fought back." Her words stuck with me. This wasn't just my story anymore. It was a public reckoning, a reminder to every woman who had ever been silenced that silence isn't the only option. By the end of the week, Adrian was radioactive. Clients ghosted him, colleagues unfollowed him. Even old friends started blocking him to avoid guilt by association. He once told me, "Reputation is everything in this city." Now he was finding out what it meant to lose it. And as I watched the chaos unfold from the safety of Marco's condo, I realized something important. I didn't even need to lift a finger anymore. The world had already decided whose side it was on. Adrian thought betrayal was a private act. But in the age of hashtags and viral clips, betrayal is public property, and he was being devoured by it. The internet had already dragged Adrian through the mud, but I knew humiliation wasn't enough. If I wanted true closure, I needed permanence. Papers, signatures, court orders. consequences that couldn't be deleted or explained away. Camilla, my lawyer, was relentless. We hit him from every angle: custody, property, finances. You want justice? This is where it happens. The first time Adrian walked into the courtroom, I almost didn't recognize him. The man who used to strut into every room with confidence now looked 10 years older, suit wrinkled, tie crooked, eyes hollow. Serena wasn't with him. She'd disappeared from public view, probably hiding while her firm scrambled to contain the scandal. He tried to smile at me across the aisle, a pathetic attempt at charm. I didn't return it. Camilla leaned in, whispering, "Remember, silence is power. Let me do the talking." And she did. We presented proof that my inheritance had been funneled into his company. Deeds with my mother's name, re-signed under joint ownership. Bank statements showing how Adrian drained our accounts on business trips that were really vacations with Serena. Hotel receipts charged to his firm's corporate card. The judge's brows furrowed deeper with every page Camilla slid across the bench. Adrian's lawyer sputtered excuses. These expenses were legitimate business functions, Camilla cut in sharply. If Valentine's dinners at the Fontainebleau are business functions, then perhaps the IRS should be informed. The courtroom chuckled. Adrian's face flushed. When it came to custody, I didn't have to fight hard. The judge looked at Sophia's school reports, the stability I had already provided since moving into Marco's condo, and the media circus Adrian had created. Camilla's closing words sealed it. A father who exposes his daughter to public scandal, financial instability, and dishonesty is not a stable guardian. My client is. Full custody awarded to me. Adrian granted visitation only under structured terms. His face fell like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. But it didn't stop there. Camilla demanded spousal support, citing the years I had sacrificed my career to raise Sophia while Adrian built his empire. The irony wasn't lost on me. His empire was collapsing, yet now he had to pay me for the very sacrifices he once demanded. He tried to protest, slamming his hands on the table. "This is extortion. She's taking everything from me." The judge silenced him with one sharp look. "No, Mr. Zadora, this is accountability." Outside the courtroom, the fallout spread to his family. Adrian's father, a retired surgeon with a spotless reputation, called me privately. His voice was heavy, resigned. "Rachel, I can't believe what he's done. I raised him better than this. I want you to know you have my full support. Sophia is welcome in our home anytime. But Adrian, he's cut off." I thanked him, but part of me mourned for him too. No parent wants to admit their child has become a disgrace. Adrian's younger brother, Anthony, was more blunt. He texted me, "Don't ask me to bail him out. He made his bed. I'm done cleaning up his messes." Even his blood was abandoning him. Financially, the collapse was swift. With investors fleeing and Serena gone, Adrian's company filed for bankruptcy protection within weeks. Clients pulled projects, banks called in loans, and the employees who once idolized him suddenly had no paychecks. I read an article online calling it one of the fastest downfalls in Miami real estate. Adrian's car, the flashy Maserati he loved to show off, was repossessed. His penthouse, mortgaged to the hilt, went on the market under foreclosure. He moved into a rental apartment that looked nothing like the life he had flaunted. Through it all, he tried to reach me. Pathetic emails filled with excuses. "Rachel, please, I didn't mean for this to happen." Serena pressured me. "It wasn't love. It was survival. We can fix it." Fix it? He thought betrayal, lies, and public humiliation could be patched like a leaky roof. I never replied. What truly twisted the knife wasn't the money or the property. It was watching Serena unravel. Word spread that she was forced to resign after the HR investigation confirmed the misuse of funds. She tried to launch a consulting business, but the internet followed her. Every LinkedIn post flooded with comments. Homewrecker, mistress, cheater. Her name was radioactive. Her career finished. I didn't have to lift a finger. The world had decided her fate. One evening, after tucking Sophia into bed, I sat on Marco's balcony overlooking the city. The skyline glittered, but I wasn't thinking about lights or money. I was thinking about freedom. For the first time in years, I felt like my life wasn't tied to Adrian's choices. Marco joined me with 2 glasses of wine. "You did it, Rach," he said. "Not yet," I replied. "He still has to face himself." The final blow came during the last court hearing. Adrian begged for leniency and spousal support, claiming he had nothing left. Camilla didn't flinch. "Your Honor, my client deserves stability after years of sacrifice. If Mr. Zadora has nothing left, it's because of his own reckless behavior. The law is clear." The judge agreed. Support payments were locked in. Adrian slumped into his chair, defeated. That was the moment I saw it. The realization dawning on him that he had truly lost. Not just me, not just Sophia, not just the money. He had lost his image, his family, his power. Everything he thought defined him was gone. I walked out of that courtroom lighter than I had felt in years. Adrian once told me, "You'd be nothing without me." Now the world could see the truth. He was nothing without me. And that was the sweetest justice of all. It happened on a Sunday afternoon, the kind of day when Miami felt deceptively calm. The sky was clear, the air heavy with salt, and I was walking out of a cafe with Sophia when I saw him waiting on the sidewalk. Adrian. He looked nothing like the man who once held court at yacht parties. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair unkempt, and there were shadows under his eyes that no amount of sleep could erase. He shoved his hands into his pockets when he saw me, as if trying to appear smaller, less threatening. "Rachel," he said quietly, his voice cracking. "Can we talk?" I felt Sophia stiffen beside me. I squeezed her hand and nodded toward Marco, who had joined us for coffee. "Take her home," I said softly. Sophia looked at me with wide eyes, but I kissed her forehead. "It's okay, baby. I'll be right behind you." Marco gave Adrian a look that could kill before walking away with her. Once they were out of sight, I turned back to the man I had once called my husband. "What could you possibly have left to say?" I asked flatly. He took a shaky breath. "I've lost everything, Rachel. The company, the cars, the house. Serena's gone. My own family won't return my calls. I'm living in a rented 1-bedroom. Do you understand what that feels like? To go from everything to nothing?" I crossed my arms. "Yes, Adrian, I do, because you did it to me first." He flinched like I'd struck him. "I know, and I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I was stupid, selfish. I thought I was untouchable, but I see it now. I ruined the only thing that mattered. You, us, Sophia." His voice cracked on her name. For a brief second, I almost saw sincerity. But sincerity doesn't erase betrayal. "You humiliated me in front of the world," I said, my voice steady. "You turned our life into a circus. And now you want what? Forgiveness?" He shook his head quickly. "No, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But maybe a second chance. For Sophia's sake, for us to try again. I swear, I'd do it differently this time." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "A second chance? Adrian, you didn't just break a vow. You annihilated it. You torched everything we built, and then stood in the ashes asking why it was so cold." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded photo. Sophia, at age 3, grinning with ice cream smeared across her face. He held it up like it was proof of something. "This is what we had. This is what I lost. Please, Rachel, don't shut the door forever." I stared at the photo, my throat tight. But then I remembered Sophia's words in the dark that night after the yacht. "I don't like when you cry." I hadn't cried since. And I wouldn't start now. "You already shut the door, Adrian. You slammed it yourself when you chose Serena, when you chose greed, when you chose yourself over your family. I'm not here to reopen it. I'm here to make sure it stays locked." He stepped closer, desperation in his eyes. "I'll change. I'll go to therapy. I'll get a regular job, anything. Just tell me what I have to do to fix it. I held his gaze, unflinching. You can't fix it. Because the damage isn't a crack in the wall. It's the foundation. And the man who built that foundation was you. His shoulders sagged, tears spilling down his cheeks. So that's it? After all these years? After everything we shared, you're just going to walk away? I took a step forward, lowering my voice so only he could hear. No, Adrian, I'm not just walking away. I'm walking forward. Without you. That's the difference. He opened his mouth to speak, but I stopped him with the line that had been sitting on my tongue for weeks, the one I knew would end this once and for all. You're the architect of your own destruction. The words landed like a hammer. He froze, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, and for the first time, I saw the truth settle in his bones. Not anger, not defiance, just realization. I turned and walked away, heels clicking against the pavement. I didn't look back, not once. I didn't need to. The past was behind me, begging on a street corner, and the future was mine to claim. When I reached the corner, Marco's car was waiting. Sophia sat in the back seat, waving at me through the window. I climbed in, shut the door, and exhaled a breath that felt like release. As we drove away, I glanced out the window one last time. Adrian stood there alone, clutching that photo of our daughter like a lifeline. But I knew better. That photo wouldn't save him. Nothing would. Because the truth about destruction is simple. It always starts with the builder. And Adrian had built his own ruin, brick by brick. A year later, I barely recognized my own life. I stood on the balcony of my new townhouse in Surfside, coffee in hand, watching Sophia ride her bike down the quiet street. Her laughter carried in the breeze, light and unburdened. She was thriving, better grades, new friends, a confidence I hadn't seen in years. Sometimes I wondered if my strength had given her permission to find her own. As for me, I'd taken all the energy I once poured into Adrian's ambitions and turned it inward. With Marco's help, I started a boutique marketing agency, the career I'd abandoned years ago. Clients came quickly, some because they admired my grit, others because they'd seen my name trending online. What Adrian once used to define me as just his wife had become my own brand, my own foundation, and this one couldn't be taken away. The townhouse wasn't flashy, but it was mine. Every piece of furniture, every photo on the walls, every decision had my fingerprints. No compromises. No shadows of betrayal. Just freedom carved into every corner. Sometimes people asked me if I missed him. The truth? I missed the idea of him, the man I thought I married, not the one I caught in that cabin. That version of Adrian had been gone long before the yacht party. I heard about him now and then, through whispers. He was spotted bartending at a dive bar in downtown Miami, or couch surfing with old acquaintances. His name no longer commanded respect in real estate circles. It drew pity and rolled eyes. Serena had vanished completely. Some said she moved out of state, others that she was quietly selling houses under a different name. Either way, they were both relics of a story that no longer belonged to me. The woman I was a year ago, crying in the dark, doubting herself, clinging to hope he'd change, she was gone too. What remained was a woman who had learned that destruction can be a gift. Sometimes you have to watch something crumble to see what you're capable of building. On the anniversary of the yacht party, Marco brought over a bottle of champagne. To freedom, he toasted, grinning. I laughed. To transformation. As the bubbles fizzed in my glass, I thought about how far I'd come, not just surviving betrayal, but reshaping it into something empowering. Betrayal didn't define me. It freed me. That night, I tucked Sophia into bed. She smiled up at me, her voice soft. "Mom, you don't cry anymore." "No," I whispered, brushing her hair back. "I don't." Because tears were for the old Rachel, the one who believed loyalty meant silence, the one who confused sacrifice with love. The new Rachel understood that silence can turn into fire and fire can rebuild. As I turned out the light, I realized something simple, something powerful. Adrian had been the storm, but I had become the aftermath. And the aftermath was stronger, calmer, brighter. His downfall was a headline. My freedom was the legacy. Thank you so much for watching my story. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. And subscribe to the Velvet Revenge channel for more stories.